The arrival of the Blackstar. The stars were quiet. The void stretched endless, filled only with cold light from distant suns. Across the empty dark, fleets of alien warships drifted in formation, their weapons primed, their captains proud. For months they had spoken of this day, the day they would meet the most dangerous human creation ever built, the ship that even empires feared, the USS Blackstar. Most of them did not believe it was real. They had heard whispers, stories carried across space by dying merchants and broken soldiers. They said the Blackstar was more than a warship. They said it was a weapon shaped like a star, a predator built from steel and fire, carrying the wrath of an entire species. But to the alien commanders, these were only human lies crafted to spread fear. Then the void shook. It began as a faint tremor, a distortion at the edge of the system. The stars seemed to bend, as if space itself did not want to hold what was about to appear. Lights flickered across alien sensors, lines of code streaming faster than their minds could follow. And then it came. A shadow tore through the void, vast and silent, larger than any ship they had ever seen. The USS Blackstar had arrived. It did not roar. It did not announce itself with banners or threats. It simply was. A black dagger across the cosmos, its hull sharp and endless, absorbing the starlight around it. Where other ships glowed with energy, the Blackstar seemed to drink in the light, swallowing all color into its dark steel. Only its engines broke the silence. 4 massive cores that burned with fire, glowing orange like miniature suns. The alien fleets shifted nervously. Thousands of ships surrounded the human warship, but none moved closer. The Blackstar drifted forward, slow and steady, as if the universe itself moved out of its way. On the alien bridges, whispers grew into fear. Their commanders barked orders, telling them to stand firm, to remember their numbers. Yet even the bravest could not stop their hands from shaking. Legends had told of this ship. It was said that no enemy had ever survived once it fired. Entire fleets had vanished and no records remained. The Blackstar left only silence behind. Some called it the spear of humanity. Others called it the end. To those who stood against it now, staring at its endless hull, it was something worse. It was the truth of their nightmares. The alien alliance had gathered here in confidence. 20 different empires had combined their strength, bringing warships from across half the galaxy. They believed numbers would drown humanity's terror. They believed no machine could fight an ocean of steel. But as the Blackstar drifted into their trap, their courage began to rot. On the command bridge of the lead alien dreadnought, a general stared at the human ship. His claws dug into the armrest of his chair. He could see its shape clearly now, could measure the endless lines of its hull, could count the glowing points where cannons slept in silence. He had ordered this battle. He had told his people that humans were fragile. He had promised their allies that the Blackstar was nothing but a myth. Now he felt his throat tighten. The Blackstar stopped moving. It hung in the void, perfectly still, as if it had chosen its place. Across the fleet, alien weapons armed themselves, energy gathering in glowing lines. Thousands of guns, missiles, and beams aimed at a single point in the dark. A storm of fire prepared to fall. Yet the Blackstar did not move. It did not raise shields. It did not turn its cannons. It only waited. The silence grew unbearable. Alien voices shouted across comms, asking for orders, asking whether to fire. Some screamed that it was a trap. Others begged to retreat. Still, the general did not answer. His eyes were locked on the ship, his heart pounding with fear he could not show. He knew, deep inside, that this was not a battle waiting to begin. This was a judgment already decided. The Blackstar's engines flared. A deep orange light spread across its hull, glowing brighter, hotter, until the darkness itself seemed to pull back. Its cannons awakened, massive barrels sliding from hidden compartments, each one glowing like a star being born. The alien fleets froze. Their courage collapsed. Every commander knew what was coming. The Blackstar was about to fire. For a moment, the universe held its breath. Time seemed to stop. The alien fleets, with all their numbers, with all their strength, waited in silence for the storm. The Blackstar's glow became unbearable, its light cutting through the void, reaching every eye, every trembling hand, and then in the stillness came the realization that would haunt them forever. No one would leave this place alive. The Blackstar had arrived, and nothing would survive its wrath. The enemy armadas gather, the fleet spread wide across the system. Hundreds of ships, glowing with the colors of many empires, formed layers of steel that stretched from one horizon to the next. Their hulls shone like silver knives, green shards, red daggers. Each species had brought their best. The airwaves buzzed with voices of commanders speaking in dozens of tongues, all bound by a single purpose: destroy the human warship. To them, the USS Blackstar was not only a target. It was a symbol. Humanity had risen too fast, too strong. Where once they were scattered colonies, they now stood as one force that none could bend. The Blackstar was proof of that strength, a blade sharpened by war and survival. If it could be broken, then the humans would bend again. At least that was the hope that filled the Alliance before the ship arrived. But now the Blackstar was here. It sat in the void like a god of iron, silent and still, its dark shape towering over the fleets. The alien admirals had promised victory, but in their hearts doubt crept like poison. Numbers did not feel as strong as they once had. Their weapons, once proud, looked small when compared to the endless hull of the human warship. Still, pride would not let them show fear. One by one, the commanders raised their voices across the network. Form second line, shields at maximum. Do not give it room. Surround it from all sides. It bleeds like any ship. Fire together and it will fall. Their words carried into every ship, but their voices trembled beneath the surface. Sailors and soldiers listened, but their eyes never left the shadow that drifted before them. The Blackstar did not move. It simply watched, waiting, as if mocking them with its patience. Inside the fleet's tension grew heavy. Entire crews sat in silence, their hands shaking over controls. Some whispered prayers in languages long forgotten. Others stared at pictures of families far away, hoping the battle would end before it began. Few truly believed they would return home. The alien general, sitting upon his throne of steel aboard the flagship, bared his teeth. He forced his voice to remain strong, though sweat dripped down his scaled brow. Humans are fragile, he declared to his officers. Their technology is stolen, their pride an illusion. The ship is not a god. It is only metal. Remember that when the fire begins. His words spread across the Alliance network. Ships cheered, or at least pretended to. Yet behind the false courage, silence followed quickly. Everyone could see the truth with their own eyes. The Blackstar looked alive, its engines pulsed like a heartbeat. Its cannons glowed faintly, waiting like predators in the dark. The ship gave no signal, no words, but its presence was enough. It felt less like an opponent and more like a judgment waiting to fall. Some admirals whispered privately to one another. Should they retreat? Should they wait for reinforcements? But to retreat meant shame, and shame meant execution by their own people. They had no choice but to fight. The trap had already been set, and they were the ones inside it. Across the stars, fleets moved into tighter formation. Their ships formed great circles and lines. Walls of fire prepared to crush the human vessel. Carriers released swarms of fighters, small ships darting through the dark like sparks of flame. The void filled with the hum of engines, with the lights of weapons charging, with the promise of destruction. Still, the Blackstar did not move. The alien general clenched his claws tighter. He stared into the black shadow, trying to read its silence. Why did it wait? Why did it not strike? Perhaps the humans were afraid. Perhaps their ship was weaker than it seemed. His pride demanded he believe this. His pride demanded he see the human warship as nothing more than a story, dressed in steel. Signal all fleets, he growled. We will strike together. We will drown the humans in fire. At my command, every cannon will open, every missile will fly. They cannot withstand us all. His officers bowed and carried out the order. Across the void, lights brightened as weapons reached full charge. The system itself seemed to glow with deadly fire, thousands of barrels aiming at one single ship. The moment stretched, heavy with tension, as if the universe itself leaned forward to watch. Still, the Blackstar remained silent. The alien general raised his hand. Fire! In that instant, the void screamed. Thousands of beams tore across the darkness, streaking red, blue, green, white. Missiles flew like storms of fire, filling the stars with trails of destruction. The fleets poured everything they had at the Blackstar. Energy shook the system. Explosions bloomed like suns. The human warship vanished in the storm, swallowed in endless fire. For a heartbeat, the aliens felt victory. Their weapons had struck. Their enemies were drowning in flames. Cheers filled the comms, relief rushing through the veins of those who had feared. Perhaps the legends had been lies after all. Perhaps the Blackstar could bleed, but then the light faded, the smoke cleared. And the USS Blackstar was still there. It had not moved. Its hull was untouched. Its engines burned brighter as if mocking the storm. The alien fleets fell into silence. Their cheers turned into gasps. Every commander stared, their pride collapsing. The Blackstar had taken the first blow, and it had not even flinched. The first shot. The silence that followed was heavier than the storm itself. Thousands of alien captains stared into their screens, waiting for the human ship to break apart, waiting for some sign of damage. Yet the USS Blackstar floated untouched, its black hull shining with a faint glow, as if the storm had only brushed against it. No cracks. No smoke, no fire. The alien general's jaw tightened. His claws tapped against the steel of his throne. Around him, his officers whispered in disbelief, their eyes wide with fear. It should not be standing, one muttered. No ship can survive that. Another hissed, the humans have hidden something. This is sorcery, not science, but the truth was plain. Their greatest strike had done nothing. The Blackstar stirred. At first it was only a low hum, a sound that crawled through the void so deep and heavy it seemed to rattle the bones of every living being who heard it. Then the glow returned. The cannons of the Blackstar awakened one by one, their barrels sliding out like the eyes of predators opening in the dark. The alien fleets froze. On the bridges of 1,000 ships, crews stared at the growing light, their voices caught in their throats. They had fired first. Now it was the Blackstar's turn. The ship did not move fast. It did not rush. Its actions were slow, deliberate, like a hunter toying with prey. The glow from its cannons grew brighter, hotter, until the void itself seemed to burn, energy built in waves, bending the very fabric of space around it. Warnings screamed across alien consoles. Numbers scrolled faster than they could read. Weapons of such scale should not exist. The alien general rose from his chair, his body stiff, his mouth dry. For the first time in his long life, he did not have words to command. He only whispered, "No." The Blackstar fired. It was not a beam, not a missile, not the kind of weapon the galaxy had seen before. It was light itself, compressed into a single spear, unleashed with the force of a star's birth. The void turned white. For a heartbeat, everything was gone. Sight, sound, thought. The universe itself seemed to vanish. When vision returned, an entire fleet was missing. Where once hundreds of ships had floated in formation, now there was nothing but drifting ash and shattered metal. Their shields had not mattered. Their armor had not mattered. The first shot of the Blackstar had cut them from existence. Shock tore through the Alliance. Voices cried out across the comms, broken, frantic, desperate. Some begged for orders. Others screamed for retreat. Entire crews collapsed into panic. The generals tried to shout above them, but even their voices trembled. This cannot be real. It was only one shot. Only one. The Blackstar glowed again. Another cannon lit, its energy rising like the dawn of a second sun. The aliens broke into chaos, their fleets shifting in panic. Some tried to scatter. Others tried to shield themselves behind their allies, but there was no escape. The Blackstar fired again. This time, 2 fleets vanished. The void shook with their silence. Every alien ship left behind could feel it. The battle was already lost. This was not a warship. This was not even a weapon. This was something beyond their understanding, beyond their science, beyond their hope. It was the hand of humanity's vengeance, and it had chosen its targets. On the alien flagship, the general collapsed into his seat. His chest ached, his breath shallow. He had promised victory, and instead he watched his people burn like dry leaves in a storm. He wanted to give the order to retreat, but the words would not come. Retreat meant shame, but staying meant death. Neither path could save them now. The Blackstar's cannons kept glowing, one after another, like stars waking in a black sky. Each blast was the end of another empire's pride, another fleet erased, another army silenced. Alien screams echoed across the channels, but soon even those went quiet, drowned out by fire. A single transmission was caught, spoken by a frightened officer before the signal cut. "This is not battle," the voice cried. "This is execution." The words spread quickly, carried from one ship to another until even commanders whispered them under their breath. They were no longer warriors. They were victims. Still, the Blackstar fired. Each strike was slower than the last, as if it enjoyed the silence between blasts. The alien fleets had begun with thousands. Now in minutes they were reduced by half. Bodies and broken metal drifted in the void like a graveyard. The system that had once been filled with light now glowed with fire and ash. The Blackstar remained untouched. For the survivors, fear turned into something worse. Hopelessness. They no longer wondered if they would win. They no longer hoped to survive. Their only question now was who would be erased next. On every alien ship, silence grew heavy. The soldiers had stopped shouting. They had stopped moving. They simply stared at the human warship, waiting for its next shot, waiting for the moment their turn would come. The alien general lowered his head. His claws trembled on the armrest. He had led his people into this. He had told them humans could bleed. He had told them numbers would win. But the Blackstar had shown the truth. No number mattered. No shield mattered. No army mattered. The Blackstar fired once more, and another empire vanished. The wrath of the Blackstar, the void burned red with wreckage. Where fleets had once stood proud, only fire and drifting ruins remained. Yet the USS Blackstar was not done. Its cannons pulsed with light, each shot slower, colder, more deliberate than the last. It was not a battle. It was a slaughter carried out in silence. The alien fleets broke formation. Panic rippled across the Alliance as ships scattered, captains shouting conflicting orders. Some screamed for retreat, others demanded to regroup. But nothing mattered. The Blackstar tracked them all. Its weapons moved with deadly calm, choosing targets as if guided by something beyond calculation. Another blast fired. Entire carriers, along with the swarms of fighters they had released, disappeared in a blaze of white light. Pilots cried out over comms, but their signals were cut short, swallowed by fire. Across the surviving fleet, soldiers fell into despair. They no longer looked at their controls. They stared at the screens showing the human warship, watching as their friends burned. The Blackstar glowed again. Its cannons rotated slowly, almost lazily, as if mocking the chaos. Then it fired. Another empire's pride was erased. On the bridge of the alien flagship, the general's voice cracked for the first time. "Pull back. Get away from it." His words spread across the network, but it was too late. The Blackstar's weapons were faster than retreat. Ships that tried to flee were cut down before their engines reached full speed. Those that tried to hide behind allies only brought doom upon them all. The Blackstar did not miss. Every strike was perfect, every target destroyed. It was as if the ship could see into their thoughts, as if it knew where they would run before they did. Desperation turned to madness. Some commanders shut down their weapons and begged for mercy, sending desperate transmissions into the dark. The Blackstar did not answer. Its silence was colder than any words could have been. Mercy did not exist here. Again and again it fired. Each blast was not just destruction, it was humiliation. Fleets built by centuries of empires collapsed in minutes. Ships once called indestructible vanished like paper in flame. The alliance that had sworn to stand together broke apart, every species turning inward, every captain praying only to survive a few more seconds. But survival was not possible. The Blackstar's cannons roared again, and another sector of the void fell silent. Wreckage drifted across the stars, glowing like dying embers. The system that had once been filled with the light of fleets was now a graveyard. Among the survivors, whispers grew. "This is not a ship. It is death itself." Others said, "The humans have made a god of steel." And still others, broken by fear, whispered the words spoken earlier. "This is not war. This is execution." The Blackstar's engines burned brighter, casting an orange glow across the ruins. Its hull gleamed like polished obsidian, unbroken, untouchable. No enemy shot had pierced it. No storm had scratched it. The ship moved forward slowly, drifting through the graveyard of its victims as if searching for what remained. The alien general sat frozen in his chair. His claws hung limp at his sides. His officers no longer shouted. They stared at the screens with hollow eyes. He had led his people here, into the mouth of death, and now he could not find the strength to speak. His pride, once as large as the fleet's, had collapsed into ash. He whispered only one sentence. "We are already dead." The Blackstar fired again. The flagship shook as ships nearby exploded. Screens went black one by one. The general closed his eyes, waiting for the fire to take him. Still, the Blackstar did not stop. It moved through the system like a shadow, firing, at will, tearing apart every fleet that dared to remain. The survivors tried one final act of defiance. launching every last missile, every last beam of energy in a desperate wave. The void lit up once more, a storm brighter than any sun. But when the light faded, the Blackstar remained, untouched, unbroken, unstoppable. It answered with a single shot that erased the attackers in silence. The alien fleets were gone. The battle, if it could be called one, was over. The Blackstar had shown its wrath, and nothing had survived. The silence after the fire, the void was quiet again. The fire was gone. The storm was gone. Where once thousands of alien ships had filled the stars, only silence remained. Wreckage drifted across the black, glowing faintly as broken engines bled their last sparks. Hulls cracked open like graves, bodies frozen in the cold of space, nameless and countless. And at the center of it all, the USS Blackstar stood alone. Its cannons cooled slowly, faint light fading from their barrels like dying suns. The glow of its engines dimmed, no longer burning with fury, but with steady calm. The warship did not chase, did not boast, did not move. It only hovered in silence, a shadow of steel surrounded by death. The alien alliance had been erased. Entire empires had sent their best, their strongest, their proudest fleets. Now they were only ash. No survivors sent signals. No distress calls escaped the fire. No empire would hear tales of victory or loss. There were no voices left to speak. Across the galaxy, waiting worlds listened for news. They had sent their fathers, their daughters, their commanders to crush humanity. They expected triumph. Instead, they would receive only silence. A silence more terrifying than defeat. The Blackstar remained, unmoving, as if guarding the grave it had made. Its black hull reflected the faint light of burning debris. In its silence, it seemed alive, as if it could hear the whispers of the dead drifting around it. For the humans aboard, there was no cheer, no victory songs, no laughter. They sat at their stations with cold faces, their eyes fixed on the wreckage outside. They had done what they were ordered to do. Nothing more. Nothing less. The captain of the Blackstar stood on the bridge, hands clasped behind his back, his expression hard as stone. He did not speak to his crew. He did not look away from the void. He only watched. For him, this was not triumph. This was duty. And duty had been carried out. The galaxy would remember. Stories would spread faster than any fleet could travel. Survivors were not needed. Wreckage told its own tale. Scouts and traders who entered this system in the weeks to come would see the graveyard. They would see the silence. And they would know. The day the USS Blackstar fired, no enemy lived to tell the tale. Across alien councils and palaces, fear would grow. Rulers who had mocked humanity would whisper in private, their voices trembling. What kind of species could build such a thing? What kind of will could turn silence into a weapon? The Blackstar was not just a warship. It was a message. The message was simple. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not to be provoked. Any empire that tried would meet the same silence. In the void, the Blackstar's engines flared once more, burning orange as it turned slowly away from the graveyard. It did not look back. It did not need to. The dead did not follow. The warship drifted into the dark, leaving behind only wreckage and silence. Its shadow grew smaller against the stars until it vanished completely, gone as suddenly as it had appeared. But its presence lingered. Every drifting shard of metal, every frozen body, every silent star bore witness to what had happened. Legends were already being born, whispered in the corners of distant taverns and hidden markets. Legends of the day, when thousands of fleets stood against one ship and the ship did not fall. Legends of the Blackstar. Some would call it a monster. Others would call it salvation. But all would agree on one truth. The galaxy had changed. In the silence after the fire, hope and fear took new shapes. For humanity, the Blackstar was proof that they were no longer small, no longer fragile. They had built something that could not only defend them but erase entire empires. For their enemies, it was proof that humans must never be challenged again. The silence stretched on. The stars, distant and cold, shone over the graveyard. The wreckage drifted endlessly, untouched, a reminder carved into the void itself. It was not just the end of a battle. It was the beginning of a legend that would haunt the galaxy for centuries. And though the Blackstar was gone, its shadow remained in every heart that heard the story. The day it fired, history was rewritten. And the galaxy would never be the same.